Yeah, you guys, I've seen all kinds of slums in my time, but these are something else. These are genuinely ghost slums. It's like the people here are hiding, and only on occasion will they slip out of their dilapidated burrow-esque houses.
我住10多年了，这是老房子，100多年以前的。
I've lived in this building for more than 10 years.
Oh, these slums look like they've been hit by a bomb strike. Just take a look at them. All of the furniture is left. The funniest thing, you guys, is that this is one of, if not the, most expensive spot in China. Today, every facet of life in Shanghai, the most cosmopolitan city in China.
Just look, I mean, you could have shot movies in this place.
Yeah, these balconies are gorgeous. There's an atmosphere to this place. It has the spirit of old China with its slums and secret luxury locations.
Yeah, it's beautiful there. It's worth seeing. Take a look. I mean, at this building. The cost of a ticket to go up, let's say that the viewing platform is around 100 yuan. But here, we literally just went up.
We'll embark on a journey across this incredible country in a house on wheels.
2 foreigners, hell knows where, driving into the mountains in a motorhome.
To get to the Avatar Mountains and spend several days living in the Shaolin Monastery. While the monks complete their morning prayer, I'm not allowed in there, and I can't film there anyway, but I'll tell you how to get to the Shaolin Monastery, where I almost wound up behind bars. Stanislav.
Stanislav, 很长。
Truth be told, I overdid it there at the start.
I saw it on your face. Your eyes were going wild.
In the last episode, I showed you China's super speed trains. Now I'll show you the run-of-the-mill sorts. Here, guys, look, a standard cabin, 4 places, and, well, basically a familiar story from childhood. Oh, and the ticket lady. How and where do the Chinese travel to? How will we get there? How?
We'll drive. We need to find someone who will give us a ride.
Okay. Why the Chinese are afraid of their bridges. Come on, give me your hand. Come on, bud, come on, you can do it.
No!
And how the Chinese live way out in the sticks. So they create like a full-on sex fest.
Well, that's what I was told at least. They don't all do it.
This is going to be a completely different China. And as always, in a way that you've never seen it before. Let's go.
Pocket rocket in my pocket, please don't make me pop it. All these boys just wanna copy the style, tell them niggas stop it. Whoa, whoa, it's my destiny, feeling like Latoya, like it found me my Beyonce, and she shotgun in the cockpit.
They were selling MacBooks. I wonder how much for...
The third.
Maxime and I have come to the main electronics market in China, in the city of Shenzhen, to do what many believe to be impossible.
Do you know what a ref is?
It's like they do the same thing, right? But hang on, they can't do a legit version of a Mac, can they?
In China, nothing is impossible. They can do anything here.
They sell laptops here, tablets, parts, you name it. Now, this is just Apple casing, right?
But this might well be original casing because they buy in original casing here. So that you can't tell them apart. Let's say you put together or bought some phone, you see you can pack it up in any box, and they have original boxes here.
Ah.
Original boxes with original stickers, even the IMEI's checkout.
The IMEIs?
Yeah.
How do they get them to check out?
Well, it's original boxing.
So they, like, get the boxes from the factory then, right?
Yeah, well, not from the factories. Let's say you even have a box at home, you want to sell it, you can come here and sell it for 100 yuan. You see, they add everything to the box, then they write the exact same IMEI on it once again.
Yeah.
And then stick it on. You'll see now.
Okay. Our goal is to make a unique Frankenstein iPhone. To buy the cheapest, oldest, most beaten-up iPhone XR, we'll put it in the casing for a 14 Pro while replacing the camera and screen. And then, here's the real kicker, we'll package it in a 14 Pro box with all the barcodes and numbers so a potential customer will be none the wiser that this is, in fact, a ref, and from a really old model at that. Guys, we're making a deal here to do something incredible, an experiment with an iPhone, which I've never done before. So here's how we did it. Maxime took me to some trusted sellers. We haggled for a short while using a calculator. They don't shave a huge amount off the prices here, as due to the huge competition, the markup on all sales made is minimal. We settled on 1,900 yuan. FYI, at this time, a new 14 Pro was 5 times more expensive. The press release for the 15 had just dropped, but it wasn't on sale yet, so I couldn't do it with the 15. The guy showed us the casing, which he was then going to stuff the old phone into. He promised he'd buy the best accessories for it. Since this is far from his first rodeo, Maxime checks all the parts. So will the phone be there in the box?
Yeah.
And can they seal the box up? So it'll be like...
Sure.
brand new.
We'll get it now.
I hand over the money, and they ask us to wait for a couple of hours while they assemble the phone.
If anyone is wondering and wants to know where we are, we're currently in an iPhone factory. Where they manufacture iPhones.
And by the way, guys, they might actually make more iPhones on this market than they do in the real iPhone factory.
Yeah. For sure.
The market is huge, with multiple floors, and it's famous not even for its ready-to-use goods, but for the incredible variety of parts on sale. Cards, cameras, screens, all sporting different quality levels and prices. Here, you can solder into your old phone more quality parts from a new model, or the opposite. You can assemble a budget copy of the original using the cheapest parts.
They sell iPhone parts here. And you've just paid money for this iPhone here. He's run off. Now he'll go and buy every single part. There are like 50 to 60 parts. And he'll make you an iPhone from them.
So like a new iPhone using just the parts?
Right, a 14 Pro.
So now, what about a standard customer who could say, I don't know, he could buy an iPhone anywhere in the world, on the internet? How can they check that they're not getting a soldering job from this market, that it's legitimate?
It's really tricky. If you film it, nothing will happen, it's all good. But I always say as a warning, if you film in plain sight, then people can see, and more so in a place like this when, well, you get my drift.
Yeah.
If Apple found out what was going on here, like...
Oh yeah, they'd all go bald like me. Apple and the other electronic manufacturers, if they knew about this market, of course, but they can't do anything about it. What's this place called?
Guaqianbei.
What?
Guaqianbei. And it's the biggest electronics market in China, in the world, actually.
In the world?
Right, the world. There's no electronic spot bigger. This place is huge. One day just won't cut it to go around the whole thing.
So why Shenzhen specifically? Why here of all places?
Because in Shenzhen, there are lots of these manufacturers in particular of electronics, headphones. Original iPhones are made in Shenzhen too. All electronics are basically here in Shenzhen, where there's other items you can get in Guangzhou.
Good afternoon, sir. So we'll come back to the market in a couple of hours to see how it turned out and put the phone to use.
Iris, how do you say grandpa in Chinese? Evening. While. Page. Swallow. Okay, so how about every evening Grandpa also wants to... Swallow the liquid from wild coconut leaves.
美业爷爷也要验，也耶耶耶。
See ya.
Petya and Iris are a couple traveling around China in a motorhome. They're blogging the experience. Now, both were brought up as babies in a Chinese kindergarten, and I asked Iris to teach me the simplest words in Chinese. How do you say cafe americano in Chinese?
Meishu.
How do you say espresso in Chinese?
说
No? No?
说
Espresso, coffee. How do you say coffee in Chinese?
Cafe.
Oh, cafe. Okay, that's good.
How do you say McDonald's in Chinese?
麦当劳，麦
My
当
dang
劳
lao.
yeah。
Even international words sound unique here in China. Without knowledge of the language, a tourist can't even order themselves coffee, which is why I headed off with Petya and Iris to study the boondocks of China. FYI, guys, this is the first time that I've driven anywhere in a motorhome. I hope I don't develop claustrophobia on the journey. Is it okay driving in one, Petya?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah?
Don't worry about that. You might get a little car sick.
How cats talk in Chinese? I mean, meow. So
meow meow。
it's the same. We say meow, meow, meow. And how dogs?
汪汪汪。
Wow, wow, wow. We say gav, 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 gav.
Yeah.
And what birds do?
Like I guess 叽叽喳喳。
In Russian, chirik, chirik.
Well then, let's ride.
Let's ride.
I've forgotten how to drive it. I haven't driven for a month.
Jeez, do you even have a license?
Well, I bought one.
You bought one?
Yeah, I did.
A Chinese one?
I did the Chinese test, but bought a Ukrainian license.
Dude, we've got like 5 hours to drive with a license that you bought?
Hey, don't sweat it. We somehow made it all the way here. Oh God, I'm in reverse. Okay.
We're driving to the Shaolin Monastery. There are several in China, while the most famous is located in the Hainan province. But we headed for another one, not far from the city of Chongqing, as on the way, I wanted to get a better look at all of this country's deserted spots off the beaten track.
Wherever you go, there's an awesome road like this one here.
Yeah, so you get the picture, you guys. There are 3 lanes here, and we're hell knows where, so we're far away from a big city. And yet there's this amazing, spacious road.
Yeah, and the speed they build them at, it beggars belief.
And the quality of Chinese roads?
Great, great. It's always roughly like the one I'm driving on now.
The speed at which the Chinese highway network is growing is truly staggering. At the end of the 1980s, there wasn't a single high-speed road in the country. Now China is overtaking the US for road length, while Chinese bridges are built at an incredible speed. In Beijing, they can rebuild an entire bridge with 5 lanes on either side in just 43 hours. Meanwhile, it can take other countries months, even years, to do the same. So we've come to the sticks of China, and Iris is trying to find a hotel, but the problem is that me and Petya are foreigners. Well, not him, he's practically Chinese, but I'm a foreigner through and through, which is why she's finding out whether they'll let a foreigner into the hotel here.
到哪里呀？10公里还是4公里？哦，搜一下。
Not all hotels have the right to take in foreigners. So like if you want to house a foreigner, you have to have a special license, a special computer, a scanner to scan the documents and register foreigners at your hotel.
Ah.
Which means by law, as soon as you cross the Chinese border and enter Chinese territory, you have to register somewhere at a hotel within 24 hours of entering.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they have these special register points in hotels.
And they can straight up decline you. They'll just say, sorry, you can't stay here.
Without batting an eyelid. They say foreigners are a no-go, and that's it.
Whoa.
It's harsh, yeah.
Okay, guys, it's possible we'll be sleeping in the motorhome tonight. I mean, thank God there's a bed here, but we might not all fit into it. I hope at the end, we'll spend the night in the hotel.
some provinces, you even get cases where the hotels can't lodge you. You need to go to the police station to make some document, a registration, and with that registration, you go to the hotel. Sometimes this can take ages, for real, because the people at the station can't figure out how to do it. They scratch their heads in front of their computers, racking their brains about how to make a registration. And then you go to the hotel with the registration, and they're like, what the hell even is this? So that takes around 2 hours, maybe more to check into a damn hotel. It could be 3 if the station is far from the hotel. And it looks like we've ended up in that kind of situation.
Strangers pretty much never come here, and every person on the street is turning to look at our vehicle.
This is the middle of nowhere. So the roads don't look like they'll be good. In our country, we're used to the middle of nowhere meaning shitty roads. But here the roads are good, and believe me, this is the sticks for real.
The roads are good, and even in this village, there's a KTV, a karaoke club.
Yeah?
This village has a huge number of restaurants, and this isn't even a tourist spot by any means. We're in the center, guys, practically right in the center of China.
And there are literally no foreigners here. And these people have never seen a foreigner in their lives. When we got out of the motorhome, they were all doing this and that, pointing fingers at us because for them, we're something new and strange.
Old people are dancing on the sidewalks.
China is the only country where old people dance together in groups instead of sitting somewhere and discussing someone.
Take a look at this, you guys. There's another group of dancing elderly folk.
Yeah, and it's perfectly normal here. In China, all grandmas and grandpas, they dance, especially grandmas. Iris's mom, for example, she'll turn into a grandma and she'll soon be dancing like that.
You'll come across dancing like this in many parks, in all the cities of China, and in many other countries of Asia. Come to think of it, they say that exercise morning and night is one of the main reasons for Asian longevity. But there's one more thing that you don't know about these dances.
Rumor has it that some of these, collective dances, they even end up leading to orgies. But I don't know if it's true.
What, you mean the old people?
Yeah.
So they go hard.
Well, they say that when they approach old age, all the shackles come off and bam, it begins. They just don't hold back.
So they just create like a full-on sex fest. They just go for it.
Well, that's what I was told at least. Granted, they don't all do it, but you get groups of people that are full-on we're gonna die soon anyway.
So we'll have a dance or two, and afterwards we'll round up a group of us and go put a smile on our faces.
Well, something like that, yeah.
So guys, we stopped off in a small village to get a bite. And now you'll see how people react to foreigners. Literally, the entire street has been eyeballing us. And when we sat down at the table, all the customers around us started taking photos and discussing us. That guy even ditched his food. He was just looking, trying to figure out what's happening. Basically, guys, to say the people turn around doesn't do it justice. They literally stare at you. And don't divert their gaze. In China, they often provide dishes in packaging, like this. But what's most interesting is it's together with a bowl and a pot of tea. And this tea isn't for drinking, but it's used to initially wash the dishes with. This is the first time I've seen dishes washed with tea. We'd begun eating, while the man in the pink still hadn't touched his food. He was all eyes on us. We reached the Shaolin Monastery when it was already night. Iris found the only hotel in the region which agreed to take me in. Guys, look what we found, a place to crash for the night. So long as they let us in now. We've been told that they've never seen foreigners in this hotel, which is why, at first, we didn't even know whether they would have the right to accommodate foreigners. And then they cleared it up that they actually can and permitted us to stay here. So where will you be sleeping then? In the car or?
In the motorhome.
In the motorhome, right.
We're more comfortable there. Geez, we're far more comfortable there than in a hotel. It's already like a home for us.
Okay, you've got me scared. The hotel's gonna be crawling with fleas, right?
Well, it might be, I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll see. There's no other option either way. This is the only hotel for dozens of kilometers in any direction.
Yeah. And the only one that agreed to have you.
The owners offered us dinner, and it turns out so they could get a better look at us. All the locals in the region have swarmed here. It's like an attraction. A foreigner has come. Check it out. They're looking. It's like, hi there, Mr. Foreigner. I'm kind of scared that they'll start touching me.
What will you have to eat?
Let me have a read first. Let me read. Okay. Spoiled for choice, right, guys?
It'll be a surprise to you.
While we're waiting for food, I mean, just look at this, how the locals have surrounded us. Someone's telling and showing us about life in the Shaolin Monastery, and someone's just showing off.
You have beautiful girls in Ukraine. Bring them here.
Okay.
Ask about the boys.
She says, yeah, they're also really handsome.
Oh, Petya's gone red. Oh, don't be embarrassed, Petya. The girls have reeled them in here, you guys.
They've scored. The girls have scored. Iris, watch your back.
Meanwhile, the owner had served literally all of the tastiest dishes he had in the restaurant.
So, Stas, we're pretty much now in the ass end of nowhere. And from my experience, I'll tell you that in the sticks, in places like this, they have the tastiest food. I mean, for real now, the most authentic, the freshest, and we adore it. I adore eating in places like this. This spot is really dirty. We could literally go in the kitchen and it'd be a real mess.
Nah, it'd be fine.
But it's so good here. Let's go take a peek at the kitchen.
They still cook here on dried bamboo to provide heat. For special guests, the owner brought out his honey and cherry distilled liquors. While judging from the amount of food he put on the table, you'd think there were 30 of us, and not 3.
So we ordered fried chicken, then pumpkin, fried with all kinds of special spices, garlic and other stuff, then eggplants, also fried, and the lard with pepper is a must, also fried and really good.
Where do we start?
Well, how about an aperitif?
Yeah.
Just a little. We'll give it a try.
Guys, this is the homemade stuff.
Whoa! That's strong!
Strong stuff. Wow. Woo. That's a good start. There will be a tasting session of rural culinary masterpieces in our episode about Chinese cuisine. Wow. Awesome. Guys, this is great. This'll be my sleeping spot for the night. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's even toilet paper. What else could a person on the road need? We hurried off to bed because we needed to be at the Shaolin Monastery before dawn. There you go, guys. The most picturesque view of Shanghai, of its eastern part, Pudong, the financial center itself. And for sure, this is cyberpunk at its finest, a combination of high-tech with all the glitz and glamour of the 80s and 90s. This is now the most recognizable view in Shanghai, which all the tourists want to use as a background when taking a photo of themselves. But only 30 years ago, this was a port region, a slum region, rife with poverty. It was only in 1993 that the Chinese authorities allowed the city to begin its economic reforms and open up a free trade zone. That was when they first began to build the Shanghai Metro, which is now the longest stretching metro network in the world. Although it's the longest, the largest in the world, the Shanghai Metro isn't anything to write home about. For instance, The trains don't have any carriages with split climate control, where some are colder and some are warmer, and you can cool off or warm up respectively. There are practically no high-speed metro branches, and you have to go on a standard speed train, which, of course, takes much more time. It'd be much more convenient to travel on trains that go over 100 kilometers per hour underground. Also, at some stations, the air conditioning system isn't strong enough. Take the station I'm at now, for example. It's a little on the hot side. So I get that in comparison with any other metro systems across the world, the Shanghai metro is wow. Wow, high-tech, mind-blowing, incredibly awesome. But when you've already been on the metro in Chengdu, Chongqing, and Shenzhen, you kind of come to Shanghai and you head underground and you're like, guys, is this all that you have to show me? There's only one high-speed branch open to the public. The train from the airport to the city. Construct sits on a magnetic pillow and literally flies at 430 kilometers per hour. And for sure, the super speed line from the airport to the city is awesome. Yeah, it's awesome in Shanghai. I'm heading to one of the largest slum regions in Shanghai. Yeah, you guys, I've seen all kinds of slums in my time, but these are something else. They're genuinely ghost slums. I mean, like slums where you very, very rarely ever see people walking around in them. They're half inhabited. I'd say they're 10% inhabited. It's like it's an abandoned slum town. This region has almost been vacated, genuinely. They've been wanting to build an elite quarter on this site for ages, but there are residents who don't want to leave. A typical situation for Chinese cities. I mean, for real, the Shanghai slums look like they've been hit by a bomb strike. Just take a look. Abandoned furniture, dilapidated homes, these are the ones they've already knocked down, and the buildings that are still standing, people still live in them. They refuse to leave, and they keep on living there. You see, there's the hint that this was once a street. There used to be a building here, but naturally it's been demolished, whereas this building is still here, but it's also up for demolition. There are bicycles for rent just lying all over the place, these ones. People come here, and they leave the bikes, and that's it. No one ever bothers to come here and get them. There's some more bikes there. How many are there? It's like some kind of cemetery for rental bikes. There's another. Honestly, these deserted slums and these locals on their electric scooters quietly moving around almost without a sound, it's giving me goosebumps for some reason. A lamppost is on, yet it's broad daylight outside. This place looks as though the people were forced to flee here very quickly, and they didn't have time to collect their things. All that's left is someone's footwear, and they're stitched up, but fresh shoes. And what's this? There was a toilet and a bath here. An abandoned cutlery, perfectly decent furniture, an umbrella, as though it's been left out to dry off. And here you have this inner courtyard absolutely abandoned. I reckon there used to be a kitchen here. And check it out, a rocking chair, a dinner table like here, a chair, calendar on the wall, the year 2018. What's funny is that the people who vacated this place, they didn't want to take anything along with them. So there's not only furniture here, but some clothes. There you've got some cups. This is a motorcycle helmet. Check it out, there are even some sauces left on the table. And just look, all of the furniture has been left. An armchair, a table, there are even some cigarettes lying out. A cabinet, a staircase to the second floor. It's wooden. I think if I went up it now, it'd collapse. There are even some sneakers here, oil. They left everything. It's amazing, as though the people fled here, even though there was nothing to run from. But But of course, the most poignant feeling from these slums is, you hear that? It's the silence. There's not a soul. There are so few people. The slums are usually teeming with people. Usually a huge amount of people live in the slums, especially children. If it's, I don't know, India or Latin America or even Asian countries. But here, you just have semi-vacated slums. It's an incredible feeling of an abandoned city with very rare passers-by on mopeds like this one. Hello. With very rare passers-by on mopeds or people working near their houses. Wow. It's literally, you know, this piercing feeling of, I don't know, not fear, but like you're kind of frozen in place. It's like you're wandering around ruins and, you know, like something is constantly following you. In China, you already feel like someone is constantly on your tail because even in these ruins, you see there are cameras above and there are huge amounts of cameras here, but there's an added feeling of being tailed here. I don't know how to explain it. It's a fascinating feeling. The funniest thing, guys, is that this is one of, if not the most expensive spots of land in all of China, maybe even in the world. And therein lies the secret of the abandoned dishes and furniture. Those who were evicted from here received millions of dollars in compensation. I spoke about the Chinese system of vacating slums in the previous episode, and that's why they didn't need to take along any of their old things. Those who remain here are haggling to get even more money. Also, people have their own mopeds here. These ironclad gates here, they're locked. Electricity is fed here, so these homes are never cut off from electricity. That way, people can carry on living here despite the conditions here not being the best, to put it bluntly. Hello, have you lived here long?
是啊，我住10多年了，这是老房子，100多年以前的。
I've been living in this house for more than 10 years.
Whoa. And why aren't you being relocated? Wasn't everyone here relocated?
For now, our building isn't being knocked down. It's 100 years old, and sooner or later, they'll take it down too.
Hello. Well, there are people here, but they don't want to show themselves on camera. Without the camera, they tell us that they don't want to leave because they haven't been offered a good enough alternative. They have this 2-story house here, and they're simply being offered an apartment where it's too tight for comfort. That's why they'll live in this 2-story building until they're offered a decent option, despite the fact that the entire district has already pretty much vacated, and companies are ready and raring to build new high-rise buildings here, but no, the people wait. I mean, seriously, it is staggering. Essentially, because of a couple of residents, a huge construction site is empty. On the other hand, it's great. It's great that people understand that this is their house and nobody can simply walk in and take it away from them. Even if all around they decide that they need to move, even if they decide to build some very important highway here or something of state necessity, no, they first need to make a deal to offer acceptable conditions to the residents, and then they'll be able to vacate this territory. And there you have it, Communist China. What's funny is that, although these are slums, they're up for demolition. The people here are still renewing everything. So like, look at this. Obviously an old door, nobody lives here anymore, but opposite you have an apartment door, and you see they've installed a duty strength metallic cage. And the meter works fine, all the pipes are fresh, there's an air conditioner hanging up above so that it's cool. They've even changed the windows here and put in double glazing. Just check this out here, the state of cleanliness the outside kitchen is in. I mean, this wok pan has been polished till it shines. The stove is spotless. The sink, I mean, naturally, it's an outside sink. It can't be perfect, but it's as clean as it can be here. In China, it's not really a thing to brand these regions of slums as slums. Here, they're referred to as urban villages, or you could perhaps translate it as urban sub-farm housing, because very often the people of these slums have their own gardens. Now take a look, you see they've constructed gardens. They're growing some plants here. Here we've got lettuce. Just imagine a garden in the center of one of the largest megacities in the world, where the land is solid gold. But here's cucumbers or zucchinis growing here, or what else are they growing here? I mean, they genuinely should be made of gold. Also, look, they've made themselves fencing from the construction site, each one for their garden. Look, some eggplants have ripened. A garden with eggplants in the center of the golden city of Shanghai. Guys, if somebody had told me this, I simply wouldn't have believed them, but here it is. It's a garden with eggplants, ripened. So come on down and pick your crops. Just picture it. Apartments here going for millions of dollars and higher. They're building skyscrapers here because there's not enough land. It's the most popular, most famous city in China with its financial center. It's the finance capital. And here, practically in the city center, you've got a garden with ripe eggplants.
I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call it collect. I had to put all their egos in check.
We're now entering the Old Town. It's the old part of the city of Shanghai. It's located right in the center, near to the promenade, and used to have these kinds of builds here. They were, well, I guess they were like local favelas, yeah.
Sasha has lived in China for many years already, developing his own clothing brand. I asked him to help me take a look at Shanghai and to speak with its residents. We arrived in Nanxi, once the most atmospheric region in the city. Several years ago, it had small Chinese-style houses, small shops, beautiful street lamps. But all of this is coming to an end. This region will soon be demolished, and evidently, elite high-rises will be erected in its place. The noise guys, they're already knocking that building down there from the inside. And for sure, it was uncomfortable inside those builds. The alleyways here are like genuinely the slums in the Middle East. And check it out, guys. The walls are made of some sort of veneers, using who knows what. It's just fabrics, some rags, and cutting boards. This family here is one of a handful who stayed living in this region.
Let them pay me first. Cash up front and everything will be gravy. But until then, I'll live here.
He lives with his wife, expecting something like $5 million. This is essentially just one small room. A bed below, which is made simply from boards. Above, there's some kind of planking, which people even sleep on. And basically, that's the entire space.
So, when will the demolition of the whole region, of the whole territory begin? Has it already? Soon. In a year? In 2 years. We only have 2 years left to wait. Wow. The conditions we're being offered aren't very beneficial. I see. They don't care whether we like the conditions or not. Right. You see, yeah? I've already been there and shouted at them, but it was all to no avail.
Well, as I understand, this is one of the most expensive locations in Shanghai.
Yeah.
You have the high-rises there. You can see them pretty well from here, guys, but...
Yeah, there.
The very, very center.
The highest building is that one there.
That's the highest building in Shanghai. I don't know whether you can see it, but it sticks out. It's just over the river.
Yeah.
So it's really, really close.
So he said that he's already been living here for a year in these conditions because the government, naturally, they'll knock all this down, but they haven't given him an apartment yet. Plus, he's disabled, and he has to, with a family of 3 people, live in these conditions which you've just been filming. And the spot where I've just been sitting, that must be one of the sleeping areas for one of the family members.
So that means...
Which is why
someone sleeps in the chair.
Yeah. So he sat me down and said, this spot where you're sitting, it's like a nephew's or someone. I didn't really get it because his accent was really like...
Wow, so people are just sleeping on a chair.
It used to be really crowded here. I mean, picture all these alleyways you've got here, these first floors. They were open, people would be selling toys here, there would be manual work here, handcrafted items, t-shirts, sneakers, food, yeah, nighttime cuisine. And at some point, all of it just disappeared.
And was the time that everything closed when they began vacating the area?
I was here before the pandemic. I think it was all still here. I mean, you could have shot movies in this place.
Yeah, these balconies are gorgeous. There's an atmosphere to this place.
Yeah.
There's like this spirit here of...
Even these signs, even they're like...
Yeah, they're really old. The spirit of old China is here, in a way. What's funny, guys, is that here in Shanghai, seemingly the most avant-garde, progressive city in China, this is where the spirit of China has survived. It's maybe survived here better than in many other cities, because the other cities are radically being reconstructed. They've been actively developing. The new has quickly appeared while the old has been knocked down, whereas here, it's still survived. I mean, look, just take a look at this building. This is genuine. It's not some new build, not some knockoff done in the Chinese style. This is a pound-for-pound old Chinese build. But in the Chinese megacities, this sort of thing is all but gone. Paradoxically, the authorities in the large cities are now constructing showcase Chinese districts so that residents have somewhere to take a photo of themselves against a background of the real China. One of the most illustrative builds is in the city of Chongqing, which I'll discuss in detail later today. It's a kind of neon glowing new build, you guys. I don't even know what to make of it. On one hand, none of it is the real thing. It's some kind of like Chinese-styled knockoff. You've got bulbs and some lamps that don't have any relation whatsoever to the history of China. It's all been done solely for the gram, for social media and streamers doing live streams here. But on the other hand, I mean, take a look, it's gorgeous. The urge to take a photo here genuinely is like a reflex. In these pseudo-antique Chinese cities, they're making pseudo-antique Chinese restaurants so contemporary Chinese people can be in touch with their ancient culture. The irony is that while this country indeed does have an extremely ancient culture, the youth of the megacities see only this kind of architecture in China, glowing skyscrapers. But still, they're beautiful too. There's a little kid sleeping here, so I'm gonna be quiet. Guys, take a look at how they go about lighting up the modern cities in China, a mega city. You see, the entire city center, all the large buildings, the skyscrapers, they're not just lit up, but they've been deliberately illuminated with signs on them. So that means they're all a part of one huge light show. Take a look at that. But to take a look at the true Chinese antiquity, you need to travel far away from the large cities.
Swear I cannot do no wrong. Why I don't have much to say? All that talking on the phone, but you're never making plays. Playing phone tag, you're it.
All right, guys, we've come to get the phone that we ordered, but it seems they're trying to trick us. For a couple dozen bucks, we wanted to stuff an old beaten iPhone XR into the casing for a 14 Pro so that it looked like a new one worth $1,000.
The casing fits, that's okay, no questions there. He'll finish it even though he's running late. The screen, however, he's trying to fit from a 13. The upper layer here.
We didn't have time to swap it and look for another seller. Hey, it's a good thing that you spotted it.
That's why I work in the goods inspection business. I always check everything. But he's gonna go do another one, and we'll need to check all that too.
So, is it often the case that you've paid for something and then the terms change?
Oh, always. That's why you have to bear in mind, I reckon everyone who's worked with China, they'll all confirm that in the comments, it's always like that.
The seller is completing the assembly where we can see him.
His hands are shaking.
I mean, yeah, he's nervous. We've already been pressing him. The guy wanted to take us for a ride, so of course, we pressured him a little.
We?
Well, you. Maxim checks it again. Now, bear in mind, this fake works with iOS, and a potential customer, were they to get something like this, wouldn't even suspect that this was a ref in front of them. After all, everyone knows that iPhones can't be counterfeited.
Right, the finishing touches, it'll be like new.
So no traces of work remain. The telephone is meticulously wiped, new stickers are applied, and all that's left is to package it correctly. So Maxime is ensuring that the box looks absolutely identical to one from the shop. On the back side, there should be a sticker with the serial number, with everything. Now, we'll do that. That part is done in a separate shop where filming is a straight-up no-no.
No filming, no filming, no filming.
Is he sticking an email on it?
No, Stas.
I told you, stop filming.
You can't film this. Let's go. The iPhone's ready. It's ready.
Wow, let me look.
No.
Let me hold it in my hands. An iPhone 14. Guys, I've never seen anything like it. Thank you. Thank you. Maxime has already run away from me with the Quasimodo iPhone. This, guys, is the most customized of all possible iPhones. An iPhone XR in 14 Pro casing, made specially for us. I'm just gonna go examine this again.
Let's go then.
There it is, guys. The main square of the Shaolin Monastery, where the monks practice their kung fu. And there's the main monastery, where the statue of the Buddha and the main altar lies, which is why we can't film inside. It's time for me to sleep. I'll be up at 5:30 tomorrow morning for training. I've been shooting all day for you guys today, and tomorrow I have my first lesson. I just wanted to give you a feel of the atmosphere. Can you hear the mantras are playing? They'll be going all night long. Now, there's an important thing that we didn't know about the Shaolin Monastery. Well, I didn't know, at least. Why do the monks actually end up here? Well, I'll explain why today. We got to the Shaolin Monastery before dawn.
Pitch black, nothing to be seen.
We don't have a clue where we are, right?
Well,
shine a light there. Can you shine a light there? Looks like we're heading in the right direction after all. Oh, yeah, that's the Shaolin too. We were hoping to catch the first training. Can we go and ask?
Ask them that we can learn how.
We're looking for the Shaolin Monastery. Is this it?
yes.
Can we go in?
Wait a moment while I hit the gong.
The monk wasn't the most talkative of souls. He was performing something like a morning stretch. Afterward, he told us that the prior is away at the moment and we could wait for him in the monastery. Just picture this. In this entire monastery, there are now only 2 monks remaining. The rest have left on some pilgrimage or other and should be back in a few days. Also, there are children left in the monastery, Shaolin monks-to-be. We decided to spend 3 days here in general conditions to live in the cells and to eat and train together with everyone.
Yeah, I gotta keep it trendy on my soul. I'm the most selfish person that I know. Here we go, down the rabbit hole. Got a couple carrots around my neck. Self-respect, when you out of line, you put yourself in check.
So here is the daily timetable for the Shaolin pupils here. What's written here? They get up at 5:30? I can make out that much.
They wake up at 5:30. They wake up, wash their faces, brush their teeth.
What do they do at 6 a.m.?
Morning training.
And at 7:30?
Breakfast.
And then? And afterwards?
This? Tidying. They tidy their room.
And then afterwards?
Kung Fu training.
More training. The second round in a day?
Yep.
And then what?
Rest.
Rest, okay. They have 25 minutes to rest.
Exactly, yeah. And then lunch.
Lunch, okay.
And then they break for a nap. A daytime nap.
Okay, so they sleep a little.
Lessons for
Then their school lessons.
Okay, and then dinner?
And then dinner.
dinner.
Right, dinner.
And then it's back to Kung Fu training.
After dinner, they practice again. Guys, that's the 3rd time in a day. So guys, this will be my cell for the upcoming couple of days. So we're in the storage room, and the monks have promised to dress me. Oh, here are some pants. The gorgeous orange Shaolin monk clothing is, of course, only used in performances. In standard life, they train in sportswear. Okay, guys, now I'm ready. Hiya! Hua! Ha! Shaolin. You see, Lin is forest, Shao is below, right?
With that?
Smaller.
Smaller, so like a small forest. So this is Shaolin, the name of the Shaolin Monastery here. Honestly, guys, I'm a little nervous. The prior wasn't in the monastery yesterday, and we didn't have any training. We just had a great chat with the boys who are studying here. And they're really great guys. That being said, you won't go envying any of their stories, but today we have general training. And something is telling me that the boys are much better prepared than I am. Oh my God, how are you guys doing that? What the heck are you doing? I'm 40 years old. I mean, I love to run, but in comparison to these guys, I feel like a freaking Kung Fu panda. What the hell? You guys didn't even break a sweat. I mean, between the two of us, it's an average amount of sweat. It's no big deal, but we ran up a slope and at a decent pace too, which is why, although I'm a regular runner, you can hear how I'm breathing. And meanwhile, the guys, I mean, just look at them. They're not even turning red. It's like they're not tired at all. I've got a mind to take off my t-shirt and show the guys what it's really like to be seriously ripped, but I just don't want to embarrass them. I mean, why spoil the atmosphere? We're getting along so well, I think.
So when the master is here, they run like that in single file, and they can't stop at all. So you run there, single file, and that's it.
And if you get out of breath, tough, you pass out. And if you can't run anymore?
What does the master do if someone is really tired? You're better off running, else he'll grab you and go to town on your back. He just beats. Just try not running for him.
Have there been cases then where someone's been beaten so much that they couldn't stand afterwards, that they went to the hospital?
你们以前被打得到你们做不了，很厉害。有吗？
Yeah, they say yes. But that wasn't for running. The running is a piece of cake. You can seriously get it in the neck during almost every training session. But the main thing is not to disrupt the order of the monastery. We once took out some cigarettes, had a smoke. We got a hell of a beating. They said, you'll think twice about smoking here. And they beat everyone.
So he's got scars here. Can we take a look, like right here? Yeah.
Where are they from? Are the scars on your back from that time? Yes, they are.
Did they hit you with sticks?
Yeah.
So check it out, guys. This scar and all the points here. A scar, here's a scar. They're all from hits. And there's one right here on his head there also.
All my legs were beaten and my head was pummeled. I've had that many, many times. Yeah, we all get in trouble really often. Are you crazy? They come down on you even harder. We have this fragile guy, he's constantly weeping not to be beaten, and they give it to him and then some. They tell him not to weep. He's saying there's a little one among them who constantly cries. They beat him even harder because there's nothing to cry about. Nobody weeps in the monastery. We're not crybabies.
These boys are from the mountain terrains, and this locality is very poor. And this Shaolin Monastery takes pupils from the region every year. These guys.
We recently decided to take a swim in the river. We were caught and they beat the living daylight out of us all. I almost died that time. Where are you from? Ukraine? Ah, Ukraine. And this guy?
Russia. This boy, although he's 13, he's clearly the leader. He's called Jina Ganju.
I had bad grades in school, back in the village where I grew up, and I used to get in big trouble for it, but I still did bad in school anyway. So one day, monks came to our village and said they were selecting boys for the monastery, and I was the first to volunteer, but my dad said, "You're not going anywhere." I went anyway.
But why did you want to come to the Shaolin?
Well, I just said I was a poor student. I slept in all my lessons.
Do you often get punished here?
Every day, he says. Most often with a ruler to the back of my neck when I fall asleep.
Honestly, this is the first time I've met a person who entered a monastery because they were a poor student, especially when you have to do no less studying in the monastery. Personally, I think this wasn't about studies, but about his father's punishments. But if he came to the monastery and also gets punished like this, I shudder to even think about the type of punishments he ran away from.
We're often made to do the plank as a punishment, more often on our fists, but sometimes on our palms, for 2 hours. And they also do this. What do you want to show us?
You can show, yeah?
Ah, strikes with a stick?
They get 10 strikes with a stick.
Now that's seriously painful, and we begin to weep. He says they cry. He says it's painful, they cry. But you can't cry here. They come down on you, and then what? You get a beating, you suck it up, or else you get another. There's a crybaby here who often gets it. You're the crybaby.
Naturally, the youngest of the pupils has it hardest of all. He gets kicked around by both the teachers and the pupils. But if you look at him, he's the sharpest one.
Stas.
And what about you?
Xiaolong.
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 Xiaolong. Xiaolong.
The little dragon.
Among other things, the little dragon has children's diabetes and a whole host of illnesses, which is why training for him is also harder than for everyone else.
You need to put their head in water, and
They stick their head in water, and the teacher beats them on their backside.
Oh, and you need to hold your head underwater for 2 minutes while the teacher beats you?
Yeah, if you remove your head and that one, you know what that kid does? He just drinks up all the water.
All of this mockery, of course, sounds terrible if you don't know about the battles these kids endured before they came to the Shaolin. Most of the monastery's charges ended up here roughly at the age of 8. And there's no pretty story here. I understand that many of you likely think that it's a great thing to get to be in such a monastery, to learn kung fu and so on. But actually, these guys mostly, not all of them of course, but most of them don't end up here of their own free will. The internet tells scores of romanticized stories about teenagers voluntarily coming to be a kung fu monk. And indeed, there are many like that, but the other stories aren't mentioned at all. The most common story is that parents grow tired of raising their child because they behave like a hooligan, because they fight on the streets and they steal and they break the rules and so on. They come home with poor grades, and the parents themselves work and they have no time for their child, especially when they have many children. And basically, the most poorly behaved in the family is just given away. And not just given away, but given away here, where they're punished. Everyone is aware that children will be beaten at the Shaolin Monastery. And obviously, that's exactly what the parents who give their children up want for their kids. You know, on camera and more so off camera, practically all the boys say that they really miss their parents, even those parents who gave them up to the monastery. And even those who used to severely beat them. One of the boys, for example, has a head covered in scars. You see these scars, guys? He picked up these injuries at home. And just in case you were thinking, what kind of a hell is it to be in the monastery? Well, the world which these boys fled from to end up at the monastery was also no picnic. The Chinese system of education was initially incredibly strict. That's even the case today. The pressure on kids in standard schools is probably greater than what their parents deal with at work. Iris, can you compare this here with your school experience? I mean, are things here at the Shaolin tougher than at an ordinary school?
I think no.
I don't think so. They have fewer things to do here, whereas at school, you constantly have tasks. We'd wake up at 6 a.m. At 7, reading class would start. And then from 8, it'd be...
Wait. You'd wake up at 6 a.m. You'd wake up in school?
Yeah.
Why did you wake up in school?
We lived at schools, in dormitories.
Most children in China live at their schools.
They live at school? Why do you live at school and not with your parents?
Because when middle school began, I'd have to return to my hometown to study, while my parents didn't live in my hometown.
A registration system operates in China, giving you the right to free education and medicine, but only in the locality where you're registered. And there are tens of millions of Chinese who are registered in their small towns or villages, but once they've left them to work in the megacities, they're faced with a choice. When their child goes to school, they either return to where there's no decent employment, or they send their child back alone. But there's a third option, to send them to private school, but in China, it's very expensive.
And I needed somewhere to live, so yeah.
And you couldn't study where your parents lived because you have to go to school in the area which you're from and not the one where you live.
Yeah. If I'd gone to school where my parents lived, it would have been very expensive.
Okay, I understand. So you'd get up at 6 a.m. in school. What next?
Next, we'd have a quick breakfast, and then we'd go to classes. Classes would start at 7 as far as I remember. First, we'd read from 7:50.
And then we have 10 minutes.
Then we'd get a 10-minute break, and class would start at 8.
And we
had 7 classes per day. Yeah. We'd finish school at 5:45, almost 6 p.m.
Then we have 1 hour and
Afterwards, we'd have an hour's break, and in the evening from around 8 to 10, we'd have to go sit in our classes for independent work and homework.
Wow. Till 10 p.m.
Yeah.
In the evening and nighttime.
Yeah.
So in reality, you study from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. You get breaks, of course, but they're really short.
Yes, all breaks between lessons are 10 minutes long.
This workload begins in 7th grade and only grows in later years. Is it 5 days a week?
5 days?
6 days.
6 days.
Yeah.
You guys, you thought things were tough in the Shaolin, yeah? In the standard Chinese school, it's tougher.
100%.
All this is to prepare for sitting the Gaokao exam. It's a universal knowledge check for enrolling into universities in China, and it's considered the most difficult exam in the world. They often study for the Gaokao like this, by sitting in a pressure chamber while wearing an oxygen mask to decrease the desire for sleep. During classes, they'll let the entire class take a 5-minute nap because otherwise people couldn't hack it. But when you're 15, 16 years old, you want to go out. I mean, you with a guy or a guy with a girl.
Uh-huh.
And if you're going to school 6 days a week...
We would have Sundays.
You only had 1 day?
And evenings. When we were at school,
student date.
the guys would organize dates after the last class. And we'd have 30 to 40 minutes.
So that was after 10 p.m.?
Yeah.
30 minutes for a date.
That sounds like one of those cases where you spend a couple extra minutes in the toilet and say goodbye to love.
No.
It's no surprise that as soon as the exams are over, students tear their textbooks to shreds. More importantly, many of them fall into a state of apathy and don't want to work anymore. There's a popular trend in China, which is known on social media as Bailan. Word for word, it translates as let it all rot. People of a young age refuse generous work offers in favor of simply doing nothing. As a result, China has a huge youth unemployment rate, and that's coupled with the economy not having enough working hands due to a drop in the population. It's a paradox. "5:30 in the morning. I need to wash my face and head to training." While the monks perform their morning prayer, I'm not allowed in there anyway. I can't film in there. I'm going to tell you how to get to the Shaolin Monastery. Many of you have been saying how it's incredibly difficult to get to the monastery. Actually, this was just some legend invented by film buffs, just to add some suspense to the plots of Hollywood movies. And then lots of bloggers and journalists picked up on it who evidently utilized the legend to increase the cost of their material and shoots. But I'd never do that to you guys. Basically, getting to the Shaolin, any of the 7 Shaolin monasteries that are located in China, is pretty easy. It'll suffice just to come here and ask the prior. If you think about it, you'll realize that the monasteries were ultimately created so people would come to them, so they would stay in them, and ultimately, if you observe the rules that are set out, and naturally, you have to observe the rules, then the monasteries will be more than welcome for people to visit them. And that goes for any religion, including Buddhism. What's more, the Shaolin monasteries, or rather the main one of the 7 in Hainan, have been making a killing on such visitors for almost 40 years. The current abbot and head of the Shaolin Monastery is Shi Yongxin. He came to the helm in 1984 at the age of 22. He has a very colorful past. He was sent to the Shaolin by his parents when he was 16, probably due to poor behavior, though the legends are different. There are even more legends surrounding his current life. Firstly, Xiong-sin is known in English as the CEO monk. This is due to his style of managing the Shaolin, which is essentially that of a large business, and a successful one at that, bringing in an annual revenue of tens of millions of dollars. Xiong-sin has said that the Shaolin has registered more than 40 companies over the world, including in Berlin and London, to ensure the monastery's commercial activity. The abbot of the Shaolin is suspected of pocketing a part of the money for himself. He's registered a special holding company which handles the lion's share of all revenue connected to the Shaolin, concerning performances by kung fu masters and all kinds of presentations and souvenir productions and so on. On top of that, he licenses all the films made about the Shaolin, all manner of Hollywood blockbusters and all of that. Rumor has it that despite being a monk, Xiong-sin is also married, but his influence in China is so great that even BBC journalists are afraid to ask him a direct question on the topic.
Some say, for instance, that you have a lot of money abroad, that you have villas. Yes. And some say that you have a wife and children. We, of course, don't know the truth, but would you like to use our channel to give a response to these rumors? If that concerns someone, it is their problem. Personally, I think they're all rumors. As I said, if that concerns someone, it's their problem.
As for the business element, Xiong-sin and his supporters say that the commercialization of the Shaolin is necessary in order to promote ideas of Kung Fu and generally to disseminate concepts of Buddhism to broader segments of the population. You might say that this isn't religion for money, but rather money for the promotion of religion. That's exactly why I wanted to come to a Shaolin monastery with less hype surrounding it, hoping that there'd be less of a commercial feel. And by the way, my room was given to me for 150 yuan for 24 hours. So the boys are all played out?
He did it himself. You did that yourself, yeah? Nice slingshot.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
Can I see?
Can I see it? Look at this beast of a slingshot.
Прям реально? Профессионально сделано, надо сказать.
Cool.
You know, guys, I realized here that these boys, they might be the first children I've encountered in a long while for many years that are playing with pebbles and sharpening sticks and making their own slingshots, spending time out in the fresh air. I can't say that I outright envy them, but on the flip side, these kids have this kind of childhood with genuine human interaction between each other, and not with gadgets, with these kiddie things that they've made. I don't know.
Stas!
What do you think is better? That's my name. The prior arrived today at last, and we have a fully fledged training session with his assistant. Well, I mean, as much as it can be called fully fledged.
The children you've been speaking to over these past few days are from the poorest families in the autonomous county of Yi, located in Sichuan province. There are 2 orphans amongst them. And for them, we are their family. Because their aunties and uncles have their own children. 4 to 5 kids. And that's a whole bunch.
供他到18岁，供他们读书。
And put it this way, they took care of them badly,
因为他们
which is why they brought the kids here.
没有人教他这些讲的。
We'll help them until they're 18.
要打招呼，他们都
We'll improve their knowledge of the world, teach them kung fu manners. These are all boys from villages high up in the mountains, and there was no one to teach them there.
没人管。
How did you come to end up at the Shaolin Monastery?
因为
As a child, I really loved kung fu and was very poorly behaved.
然后小时候比较调皮，然后因为小时候
My parents lived near the southern Shaolin Monastery in the Fujian province, or rather,
小时候的时候是在我父母是在泉州那边
or rather, they worked there.
刚好就跟少林寺有些接触，然后后面等到初中的时候就
And in middle school, my behavior became completely unbearable.
想着就
I was little, around 13 to 14 years old, and basically,
然后就想着就
well, yeah, I set out for the Shaolin Monastery to study martial arts,
然后刚好
to train my body.
想着多学习，对。
So was that your decision or your parents'?
因为自己
I wanted it, and my parents supported the decision.
然后就
This is the monastery prior, but everyone simply calls him Shifu, which in Chinese means teacher. He's 60 years old, and he came to the Shaolin Monastery when he was 8.
I first came to the Shaolin Monastery in Hainan. That was in the early 70s, when the Shaolin monks were going through difficult times.
Yeah,
All the monks were starving. They were forced to travel downhill to the people and ask them for food. Some would return to their home cities to do business, so to speak.
In the 70s, economic reforms had yet to begin in China, and naturally, what Shifu referred to as business could only have meant something illegal. The Shaolin monks were indeed forced to form into gangs. Many left the country, which for instance gave birth to the largest Singapore triad, Salak Kao, literally meaning 369. This added up to 18, signifying the principal disciples of the Shaolin Monastery. It was only in the 80s, when the movie Shaolin Temple starring Jet Li was released, that Kung Fu monks suddenly became renowned over the whole world. And incidentally, that was also the time when CEO monk Shi Yongxin took charge of the Shaolin.
It goes without saying, martial arts has significantly changed over the years. Initially, when Kung Fu was in its infancy, there was a lethal intent to it. Skills to kill someone. But now they're disappearing.
really?
The laws have become stricter, which is why Kung Fu is changing. I'd say to focus on fitness and promoting health. Kung Fu has taken on a different meaning. Initially, of course, Kung Fu was invented to destroy your enemies. Traditionally, there are two fundamental schools of Shaolin, the northern and southern schools. We say the northern legs and the southern fists. Simply because in the south, in the coastal area, the monks had to face off against pirates on the water more, and in those situations, your fists are better suited. Meanwhile, leg strikes developed more in the north. To be fair, these schools are actually very similar. The differences lie in how you administer your strength, how you seek balance. It's only in China and Shaolin monasteries that you have both civilian and warrior monks. For example, a monk who sits every day meditating, reading sutras until his legs and feet go numb, they'd have to take a break to relax their muscles, bones, joints. And gradually, these movements shaped into Shaolin Kung Fu.
Nowadays, the Shaolin monks have a very popular show which they perform, and you're also very popular on Chinese TikTok, am I right?
Yes, I promote my videos on TikTok and other social medias. It really helps.
And I bet you get a lot of views? You have a big audience?
Many people watch my videos for sure. because Shaolin Kung Fu is very popular all over the world. Since ancient times, there has been a generation before Shaolin Kung Fu, which is why people subscribe.
What do people watch most? I'm guessing people like it when the monks demonstrate their rock-hard bones, when they break something with their bare hands.
Now, any Shaolin Kung Fu performance gathers hype. Some like it when we break things or demonstrate our strength, our endurance, or just some flashy techniques. Each viewer favors different things.
So that we also get our dose of hype, Shifu has put together a flashy number for us. He's brought us to the most scenic spot in the monastery because scenery is important. In case of a bad shot, we've got another take, but to be fair, this wasn't the best one. Oh, that's full on. That's for real.
Wow. Holy smokes. He says try it out.
Okay.
Here, take it.
Oh, ow. Oh,
jeez, the way it hits you. No, Jesus.
How do you practice for that?
How do you practice for this? How do you learn this?
You need at least 3 years of practice to do this. The key here is to learn how to breathe, to focus on breathing from the bottom up and into your head. And you need to train your skin and bones not to feel pain. But most importantly, you need to learn to redirect your breathing and energy around your body.
Shaolin monks make their fingers rock hard so that they can use them to shatter anything and everything.
Every monk chooses a discipline and trains in it. I'm training for a stone head. Some train for a stone finger. There are a total of more than 70 such teachings in Kung Fu.
But I'm confused. I mean, from a purely physical standpoint, iron is stronger than bones. How can you make bones stronger than iron just by breathing?
You're forgetting about energy. Energy is stronger than iron. Okay, I want to try breaking it too. Only with my hands, not my head. I did it. Damn, it wasn't easy, but I broke it.
No. It's not breaking. Guys, I can't break it.
I'll try to do a shorter one. Damn it.
All right. Don't torture yourself. Petya broke the long one. The shorter one is harder to snap. Well, technically, he broke the longest one, but with his head. Jeez. So, basically, the iron plank isn't strong iron. I don't know. It's not like a steel rod. It can break, but it's not exactly some showpiece made of paper either.
Serious.
Oh, I'm terrified because I know it's gonna hurt. Okay. No. It's not breaking one bit. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Is it a magic trick or genuine Kung Fu? The Shaolin monks are very active on social media. Shifu here is filming me filming the other monks, and he puts all of this on TikTok.
Look what he wrote here. We're working up a sweat, shooting a video.
Oh yeah, that's me.
Yes, he's quoting a film there. I forget what it's called in English.
The teacher has already published in local Chinese social media stories that Russian journalists have come and are shooting a report, a documentary about the monastery.
I think that the Shaolin has become famous in the way that it has. Because the Chinese used to be, excuse the expression, they were assholes. But now they're more about commercial projects. They're doing these performances. There's more of an emphasis on performances. To look beautiful on stage, how to present yourself beautifully. And not just, let's say, how to smash a damn plank and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's more of a focus here on beauty and not on these art forms. I mean, even our teacher, he came over to me and said, say in the interview that we can come to Russia, we can come and perform there. So that's already something.
There is something to it. Right now, we're sitting in the center of China, out in the sticks. Like, there's an element of romance to that, an atmosphere, however you see it.
Yeah, there really is an atmosphere. I was watching them training today, and I thought, my God, how awesome it is that I'm in the center of China, somewhere amongst the mountains, far from civilization. It's quiet, peaceful. We can train here in this monastery. And there's somewhat of an atmosphere.
So you guys, a genuine tea-making ceremony from a Shaolin monk. Oh, the tea is so good. But this is the Shaolin Monastery. Naturally, they honor traditions and the like. Do the Chinese actually attend the tea ceremonies?
Jeez, there's a table with tea on it in every household. A ceremonial tea table, a wooden one, where they have a tea ceremony in every house in China.
Oh, it's a separate table from the one they eat at.
Like we have a coffee table, they have a ceremonial tea table in every sitting room pretty much. Like no matter where I go, they're everywhere.
And they genuinely drink tea like it's a ceremony? Or is it just like they grab a cup for some tea and have it like that?
No. If they drink tea, they drink it like that. But I'm used to drinking it from, a big cup. I make it for myself in a cup, then I sit and drink it like that. Well, that's in Iris's family. When you're in a large company, let's say there, you buy a lot of furniture, a stove. A must-have in that company is an expensive, like a very expensive tea set. And you sit there hosting talks, you do all your business affairs over tea, always over tea. Yeah.
So like what we do with a shot, but they have tea.
Well, they have shots later in the evening. Tea comes first.
Well, one doesn't exclude the other, right?
First tea, yeah. They drink too. Like in these long negotiations, they need to drink. Yeah. People often complain about the need to have a drink while conducting business, especially when you're networking here in China. Getting on the booze is a must.
"1 p.m., quiet time. Almost the entire monastery is asleep. Only a couple of priors remain at the altar, as well as tourists pacing around the Shaolin Monastery. After all the training, I'm honestly dozing off a little bit. But I want to take you on a small tour of the monastery. So, behind me is the main temple, the altar. This here is the square, the main square on which the monks and pupils perform, but only on special dates. A large chunk of the monastery is occupied by huge viewing platforms which people sneak away to for a moment of solitary contemplation, something the monks often do. Despite the fact that every minute in the monastery is pretty much scheduled, meaning you wake up at 5:30 and then you have something for every half hour onwards, something you need to do. Or you have a quiet hour in which you're supposed to sleep, because if you don't sleep, you simply don't have the strength to go on training. But despite all of that, for some reason, you're always left with some free time, a free 10 to 15 minutes when you can just sit down and think. I wouldn't exactly call it meditation, but basically, you just take a quick walk somewhere. The most exhausting is no doubt the huge number of steps. Here, it's a constant case of up and down, up and down, up and down. And now, just picture what it was like, my friends, to film this shot. I first came down here from up above, set up the camera here, and then went back up, and then back down again, just so that you could see me coming down from above. So, yeah, it's something like that. But that's what there is for a blogger to do in the Shaolin Monastery. So this part of the dining area is constantly empty. Look at how many tables there are. Simply a huge, huge number. Aren't even this many priests or pupils in the Shaolin. I've been told they're for pilgrims during celebrations. So many people come here that all of these tables are actually filled. So here we have our kitchen. I'm saying our kitchen, although it's theirs, the Shaolin monks' kitchen. So come on, I'll show you what they eat here. Firstly, there's pepper. Everything is made with pepper. This pepper is from the neighboring gardens. I've seen how it grows nearby. And that's some rice boiling there, you see? And just take a look at how many gas rings that we have here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 huge pans. Again, that's for cases when there are a lot of new initiates, although technically they make the same thing. Here's the pumpkin that we eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The Chinese call this Chinese zucchini, although it's not actually zucchini as it grows on a tree. Now, as I'm told, the good thing about it is that it's edible, but also when it becomes old and shrivels up, when it blackens, it can be used as a sponge for cleaning dishes. All food in the Shaolin is naturally vegetarian. Now this, guys, this is the true centerpiece of the Shaolin Monastery, the training area. This is where genuine training exercises are carried out on this square, not on the main one. They only do training sessions for show on the main square, when they put on all the garments and costumes. But this here, this is the training hall, because it has all of the weaponry and mats and so on. But most often, we train here in the open air. You can do pull-ups here. Look at the bars. The hardest part for sure is here, doing push-ups on the concrete. Honestly, it hurts your fists. So believe me when I say that doing it on this ribbed concrete, or whatever they call the surface, is far more painful than on ground, wood, or even on standard concrete, because all of these curvatures stick right into your knuckles. On top of that, when you lay your fists down, the master is watching. If you put it down like this, you see, with your thumbs helping you out, then bam, you can get a stick to your spine straight off, like in a flash. So first, you need to tense your fists like normal, place them down properly, and put your weight on your fists. That's already painful. Then you need to lower yourself down. And the real tearjerker is pushing yourself back up. Now, just look at how my fists are afterwards. They're just covered everywhere in bruises. And you do that 20 times, morning, day, and night. While I was walking around the monastery, I was suddenly called by the Shifu. I thought he wanted to show me something, but it turned out that he wanted to show me rather than show something to me. A police officer had come to the monastery and began questioning us. Stanislav.
Stas.
He punched our names into somewhere, still giving us a rather friendly smile. I already thought I was a goner. Shifu, meanwhile, well, just look, he hadn't come up from his phone.
You know why he's here? He's seen his socials. You know why he's here? He's seen that Shaolin master, what he's posted. The photo was on the internet. He saw it and came here to find out who we are and why we're here.
Well, honestly, I overdid it from the beginning.
Yeah, I saw it on your face. Your eyes are like wild.
You know, I came in and I was like, okay, so this is happening. The teacher called Iris, and she says, well, come here, please. We'll talk everything over. So we're going, thinking that the teacher, I guess, wants to say something to us as a farewell gesture. And then the police officer just sits down and says something to me in Chinese. And I didn't understand a thing. And they're chatting between themselves, and I'm just like...
I mean, I'm already used to it, like, seriously used to it. I'm all calm, it's all good. I mean, I've been here for 7 years. I often get this kind of thing. No joke.
The police officer came because the monastery hadn't registered me. Yet notice that he didn't take me to the station, and he didn't even check my documents. It was enough for him to just take a photo of me. Well, bearing in mind that the Chinese authorities have the biometrics of everyone in the country, why would he need my documents? I don't really feel like leaving. Although I've only spent 3 days here, I kind of got used to this monasterial setup. Getting up, praying, then eating breakfast, training, and so on. I just took a walk, looked around here, and said my goodbyes to everyone. It's kind of sad to be saying goodbye. So, Petya, how did you and Iris meet?
At the club. My friend called me like, hey, free entry for foreigners into this club. I didn't drink at the time, but I said, okay, I'll keep you company. I'll get a load of what the Chinese club looks like. I met Iris there. She was also in there for free because she's a pretty girl.
So is it often the case here that foreigners get free entry into clubs?
Yeah, very often, because foreigners are something of an oddity. They attract attention, which means if there are more or if there are lots of foreigners in a club, it's an excellent advertisement. Oh, let's go to that club. There are foreigners there. It's awesome, exotic. Which is why very often you get free entry, free drinks for foreigners in some establishments to bring in the masses.
Is it difficult to pick up a Chinese girl?
It depends what kind of girl she is. If she's full on looking at you like undressing you with her eyes, then you're good to go. But there can be Chinese girls who don't like foreigners. And first and foremost, you feel that on a subconscious level right from the off. You feel that they're all about family for their whole life. Yeah. For some reason, with our girls, I got the feeling that the richer you are, the cooler you are. So their eyes are still wandering around somewhere to something or someone else. With Iris, I never got that impression. It was like she chose me. She's with me now till the end of our days. Because, well, just look at how she was raised. Her parents have been together for 35 years already, you see, so...
So then, do you think that family values here are held in a much higher regard then? Is that right?
100%. They have very few divorces here in comparison with the numbers we have back home. Well, that's what I see anyway. So it's like they choose a partner like to make a family with. They're crazy for their family. You can feel that very strongly in their culture. Very often I'll be chatting with girls who are 23, 24, and they're virgins. Because for them, it's not the done thing, you might say. She's not found her love there yet. Plus, they have serious, hardcore education here. And when you've no time, when you don't have the strength, you don't even think about that. So for real, they often don't lose their virginity till they're like 23, 24, 25. I mean, can you believe that?
Well, okay, that's the girls, but what about the guys?
The girls, yeah, and the guys too. You can see it, like if a person is in this kind of, let's call it a system where they flat out study, they don't think about anything else. But they're like...
So they just don't have time for sex?
Yeah, they don't have the time for sex, and maybe...
So it's like, I'll deal with that later once I'm 30.
Yeah, like, I was dating this Chinese girl, and basically she was like a wooden plank at 30. I mean, she only began her life at 30 because I guess when she was 23, 24, she was studying. She wasn't about all that.
Here you go, guys. A common thing that you'll encounter in many furniture stores in China. You see this woman sleeping, tucked up under a duvet, and she's taken some IKEA toy, and she's sleeping. The Chinese are famous for being able to sleep wherever and whenever. While on police duty, on an uncomfortable bench, on an exercise bike, the Chinese absolutely love sleeping on those. Check out their ability to balance themselves while asleep. In wash tubs, on stools, rocks in a park, simply on a stairwell. You'll come across sleeping Chinese people all over, and naturally, they sleep in offices too. In some school classrooms, you can fold out your desk into a bed during break. See, that guy's having a daytime nap. The Chinese like most of all to sleep in furniture stores, where it's soft, comfortable, with air conditioning, and they can grab a cozy toy to cuddle up with. Very often, Chinese people, especially on their lunch breaks, they'll come to IKEA simply to rest. And some stay here for longer than they should and just end up not working. During the pandemic, when everybody was switching to remote working and IKEA was still open, many came to IKEA to work. Seriously, they brought their laptops here and they set up workstations at the tables as they're comfortable and simply conducted their workday here. Oh, look, there's a man sleeping again. At the start, IKEA even attempted to fight this, but several years later, they officially declared that coming to the store and taking a nap was normal. Staying overnight, of course, that's a no-go. The brand doesn't have any 24-hour stores in China, but you want to take a load off? Go ahead. People are sleeping and sleeping. Well, leave them to it. Even now, in parts of the store where there are couches and beds set up, they have slow, relaxing music playing. I don't know whether you can hear it or not. We might have to get rid of it due to breach of copyright. But believe me, the music here is the sort that makes you sleep well, so that nothing disturbs you. Well, they've even begun supporting the practice. It's like a unique trait of IKEA in China. We sleep here. So you see how many crumpled beds there are here. So someone's already been sleeping there, and they've taken the toy with them for a nap. And there's another unmade bed, and someone's already recharged their batteries there, and another crumpled bed. Okay, now look, someone's sitting there working, so they can sleep alone. Some will even curtain themselves in, and we'll look at this woman here. You see? Okay, oh, he's asking not to be woken up. Okay, fair enough. We'll let the guy sleep in peace. I thought it was a woman, but it turns out that she was guarding her husband while he's laying down to get some shut-eye. So that girl there's preparing to sleep. She's putting her phone on charge, and now she's laying down to catch a few Z's. And that guy there's dozed off too. Sweet dreams there, guy. All right, guys, what's the strangest place you've ever slept in? I'm just curious. Write it in the comments. The guy's just sat down here in IKEA like he's in an apartment and is working. I mean, fair enough. It's comfortable, it's pleasant, it's cozy. The only thing that Chinese IKEA continues to prohibit is eating in the kitchen, because there have been many cases when Chinese people have come along with their noodles and boiling water in thermos flasks and then cooked them on the spot. They just sat down and munched on their noodles right there in the IKEA kitchen. But the unpleasant part was how they then left all the remains of their noodles and simply disappeared, thinking that it was a restaurant and someone was going to clean up after them.
First I was renting, now I'm collecting rent. First with the Beamer, now I want the Benz. Spending all the back like here I go again.
We're in Nanjing now on Hutsimiao Street.
What's this street?
It's very old, the central street in Nanjing.
Nanjing is one of the largest cities in China where the antiquity has been well preserved. Igor studies at a local university and has a Telegram channel about life in China. Do you mean the line for the boat?
No, that's the line for... Grim.
Wait, what's that?
A grasshopper. This whole line on the bridge is just to buy tickets.
Tickets for the boat, right?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a fair few, and today is a weekday. Yeah, the overcrowding here is just... Look at how many people
This
there
isn't
are.
a lot. It's a small number. There are lots here on weekends. On Friday and Saturday, you just walk with people. You don't even know where you're going. People would just carry you off in a wave. There can be a street and tons of people. You might turn down the next street and there will be a single person. I don't have a clue why. In Shanghai, the largest street, the most central street is Nanjing Road. And there you get such a stream of people. On the weekend, you just can't pass through. It's impossible. But you'll slip into a side street where there'll be food and stores, but no people. I think they just love pandemonium here, that's it. They like the fact that you can push around.
It's just everyone's heading where the crowd is, which means it's good there. It's where we need to go.
To be fair, even in my first year in China, when I was at college, the Chinese, the students themselves, they tell me that in the cafeteria, I should go to eat at the places where the lines were bigger. So don't go to where there are no food, as the food isn't good.
Yeah, that's logical. I came to Igor's university for the morning. Okay, guys, this is how a student cafeteria looks in China. Check it out.
These are the lines I was telling you about yesterday. So look, there are fewer people there, so that means if you want to eat, then do it here.
In the cafeteria, there are several small restaurants all at once, which the students can choose from. Beans? They're like balls, am I right? Like made of dough? It's potato, right?
Potato balls?
This is some fried stuff. This is baked from what I can see. I don't have a clue what this is. Tofu. Okay, fish, I'm guessing. Vegetables again, and this is only one of the places that serves food. Here we have sandwiches, chicken, some chicken meat, sausages, but the sausages in China, they're often sweet, right?
Yeah, they're almost always like that. They're sweet.
Yes, which is why for us, the sausages might be gross. And all the food is cooked here, so it's like straight from the kitchen. And you can get a wide assortment of veggies here. Hello.
Hello.
You see all these meat cuts, these sausages. Basically, you can take as much as you want, put it on the tray like this, and then they cook it all, right?
They boil it.
Yeah, they boil it for you. And the prices are no more than 15 yuan per dish. That's roughly $2.
The university has fixed prices. They don't allow for the threshold in place to be exceeded.
This is why in the cafeteria, both student and teacher alike buy in bulk. Explain this sign here in English.
Yeah.
None of the Chinese understand it, so why is it here?
It's just a marketing ploy. Anywhere and everywhere, even on t-shirts, you always need to make a sign in English, so it looks good.
So like in China, if there's a sign in English, it's kind of considered...
In English?
It's cool.
Yeah, even if it's weirdly written, often with mistakes.
How do deliveries work to student villages in China, to a campus?
So I've got a number from Taobao, which I have to search for. This is the 15th sector, and you've got to search for the row, and then you have to look for the number, your number. So it's not straightforward.
Okay, I don't understand. So am I right in saying this is the delivery process?
Yeah. So
the delivery guys simply chuck all of it outside.
Yeah, but we more or less understand what lies where. Yeah.
And then you just search for your package among all of this stuff. Like, just look at how much there is here. This, guys, is the whole delivery, like all of it. And then it just goes here. These are all boxes that have been delivered for somebody. And the couriers have just offloaded it all right here at the student campus. And on top of that, nobody is stealing it, even though the boxes are ripe for the taking. Hey, I know that the students here in China, well, it's accepted to, like, hit the booze hard, like get blind wasted.
Foreign or Chinese students?
Chinese, like if...
Flat out wasted.
So if they drink, then they'll just go to their pulse stops.
Opposite the first entrance to the university, we actually have a bar that's very famous in Nanjing. It's called 61. And every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, people get wasted there.
And you said that the police, they don't arrest drunk people there, right?
No, they don't. I mean, if you're not getting in people's faces and you're not seriously plastered, nobody will detain you. Nobody will arrest you, yeah.
Now, the funniest thing is that packing a body into a taxi in China, it's perfectly normal. It's safe. Most often, I mean, almost every case, The driver won't rob the passenger. Nothing will happen to them at all.
So that's...
What is Bailan?
Bailan is a period in your life when you simply don't feel like doing anything. So you don't want to work, you feel all this pressure. In Chinese, it's called yao li. That's pressure from your relatives, from your employer, from your boss, from your teacher. And people end up in this kind of depressive state. They just start quitting their jobs and sitting at home. So it's like a period.
And how common is it? Like, do you know anyone who's going through Bailan?
It's really common. It's really common. Like us in Russia, people still suffer from depression. Like, every second person suffers from depression.
Well, I don't know of cases in Russia where people lock themselves up at home. I mean, am I right in saying that these guys who have Bailan, they lock themselves inside and they don't go out anywhere? They don't work.
No, they go to party, they constantly go out to eat somewhere, go to clubs with their friends, to parties. So they just live their life on their parents' money. Straight up.
The Chinese are famous for being workaholics.
No.
No?
They really love to kick back. They love to relax more than we do. They often do it in lectures, constantly. You come and they're constantly on about how tough their exams are and stuff, but mostly they just fall asleep in their offices.
Still up in that beta stage, this should go and wake him up. 200 for saving grace, I feel I wasn't paid enough.
So guys, we're in Nanjing, and from a political standpoint, this is the most incredible city in China. Honestly, I'm blown away that such a city can exist. In Chinese, Nanjing means southern capital, while Beijing Peking is the northern capital. Only Nanjing is far older than Peking and genuinely was the capital of China at one time, but that's not the interesting part. What's curious is that Nanjing is still the capital of China, but not the China which you're thinking of, not communist China, but of the China that is often referred to as Taiwan. In 1949, the Kuomintang fled from Nanjing to Taiwan, and it still considers the city as the official capital of China, while the Taiwanese Taipei is only a temporary capital. And based on their plans, when the KMT regain all of China, it will return the capital to Nanjing. But there are more talks about how the communists will reclaim Taiwan. But even that's not the most interesting part. Rather, the fact that the communist powers that be in China are using all of their might here in Nanjing to preserve the legacy of the KMT. Right here, we have a memorial to Sun Yat-sen. Sun Yat-sen is one of the most famous Chinese politicians of the 20th century. Some call him the Chinese Lenin, yet he's the founder of the KMT. He has nothing to do with communism whatsoever. On the contrary, he was a fierce opponent of communism, a fierce opponent of the current ruling party in communist China. The founder of the Nationalist Party of China, the Kuomintang, and look at the memorial to him, created in communist China. Towards the end of his life, in the 1920s, Sun Yat-sen and his KMT formed an alliance with the communists, but only to gather forces to unite China, which at that time was in a protracted period of fragmentation. Later, these two parties became enemies and fought each other, and this memorial is the only place in China where you can see the symbols of the main party of Taiwan. All of this amidst constant talks all over the world about a possible war between China and Taiwan. I mean, it looks strange, yet at the same time, the monument is kept in excellent condition at the expense of the Chinese budget. And on top of that, there are always lots of people here. But evidently, understanding the strangeness of this flag being in China, this huge blue flag with the sun in the middle, the flag of the KMT, and part of the flag of Taiwan, the custodians of the memorial prohibit taking photos in front of it, just in case. You guys, the KMT flag goes right to the ceiling. A huge blue stripe with a star in the middle. Just picture it, right in the center of China. A monument with a huge flag symbolizing a movement which China is pretty much at war with. This just seems incredible. Everything we're told about China, about censorship here, about the hardline party system, all of that contradicts what we have right here in the center of China in its ancient capital, a KMT flag hanging. And it's not just hanging, but the state has practically organized a pilgrimage to this flag and to the leader of the KMT of a structure which China is practically at war with. That's how it is, you guys. That's China for you.
Hey, reckless tour, but I got expensive habits. Don't step from soul. I'm a real one, check my fabric, hey.
By the feel of things, Shanghai is the least Chinese city in China. There are far more foreigners on the streets here, although they say that not all of them have returned since lockdown. There are more foreign vehicles on the roads. In Chinese cities, the vehicles are mainly Chinese. And here, there's a huge number of these places that are similar to European places, with European establishments, with the European spirit, I guess. Shanghai was one of those cities where in the aftermath of the 19th century opium wars, the Brits were permitted to deal their drugs and basically grow their businesses, which is why it's become like Hong Kong, more multicultural than other Chinese megacities. But what sets Shanghai apart from any Western city is its incredible, I mean, unnatural cleanliness. Just take a look, you guys. This is the promenade. A huge number of people constantly walk along here, and naturally, they should have at least thrown like some paper or something away, but look around. There's literally nothing on the ground, not a single cigarette butt. I mean, check it out. Even on the edge of the sidewalk, there's not a single butt. Even in Singapore, if you take a close look, you'll see cigarette butts or candy wrappers or some form of garbage. But here, it's just cleanliness all over. It's incredibly cool. I mean, it's unnaturally clean. Add on top of that, for many years, Shanghai was associated with dirty, slovenly streets, messy heaps of unauthorized buildings, and petty street stores. So, like, the only thing that's lying around is a leaf from a tree, which the caretaker didn't manage to sweep up. It's a tree leaf. That's the only garbage. The first gorgeous Shanghai skyscrapers were also constructed by foreigners. Fact time, you see that tower with the hole up above? That's the financial center building. There are legends about it in Shanghai. Now, the tower was actually allegedly built by the Japanese, specifically in this particular shape, so that the spirit of this tower would destroy China's economic potential. Now, that opening, which earned the building the nickname the bottle opener, is called the Door of the Dragon, and it means the structure was erected based on the principles of Feng Shui. But here, the Chinese believe them to operate in a special way.
This building is similar to two traditional Japanese swords. I forget what they're called.
A katana.
Yes, they're holding the Japanese flag.
And that's allegedly the case. Using these katanas, Japan will cut through China and make it yield.
People
say that since Shanghai is located in an incredible spot, in a great spot from a Feng Shui perspective, these two swords are trying to sever this place from its good fortune.
Luck there.
Yes.
Wow.
And what did China do with this? They built this building here. You see its shape? It kind of envelops everything around. It can take in everything that's around. The wind, water, energy, and then just expel it.
That's right. The Chinese built another skyscraper next to this one, simply to cleanse Shanghai from the bad energy in the eyes of Feng Shui. And of course, to show that their skyscraper is taller than the Japanese one.
Yeah, I gotta keep it trendy on my soul. I'm the most selfish person that I know. Here we go, down the rabbit hole. Got a couple carrots around my neck. Self-respect, when you out of line, you put yourself in check.
Since China and Japan aren't on the best of terms, the Chinese were embarrassed that the Japanese seal is right in the city center. So they had to build a building even higher to cover it. And of course, they built what's now the highest building in Shanghai. And it does cover up the other one. We can't see the bottle opener, it's completely eclipsed.
In fact, the Chinese authorities recently prohibited the construction of buildings higher than 500 meters to finally put an end to the race of who can go longer and higher.
Opposite the bottle opener, if you approach the tall skyscraper, there's a monument at the entrance in the shape of a magnet. It's like bent facing upwards. And it magnetizes all the money in the world to this spot here, to Pudong.
Does it work? So is that the genuine point of it? Is that just a legend or the actual point?
No, for real, seriously, that's the actual point of it.
Now, on the tallest skyscraper in Shanghai, there's an observation deck where for $25 and standing in line, you can feast your eyes on the city. But Sasha is going to show me how to do it for free and without lines.
First, you go up to the 54th floor, and then you change elevator to the 56th.
This is the neighboring Jinmao skyscraper, also one of the tallest in Asia.
I just haven't been here for a long while, but I've brought everyone here who's in Shanghai for the first time.
There's a hotel on the upper floors of the building. From the lobby, you can see the entire center of the megacity.
The cost of a ticket to go up to the viewing platform is around 100 yuan, but here, we just went up, no questions asked.
Here's the TV tower. You've got the entire Pudong Business Center right below us. And there, further afield in the distance, there's the old city. And with that 100 yuan, you can go buy yourself a coffee and dessert right here and sit and look at Shanghai with all the more delight.
I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. I had to put all their egos in check.
Okay, just so you understand how this works, we've come here to pump up our tires. And they were almost done until this labor-loving Chinese guy who was inflating them suddenly turned and said, "Oh, I'm on lunch." And he just got up and went for lunch. Never mind that he literally has one tire left to inflate. And he's even already joined there, you see, the pipe, to pump up the tire. All that was left was to press the button and inflate it. But nope, sorry, it's my lunch break. I'm off. We'll be back in half an hour. Is that normal?
It's crazy. I mean, that's China to a T for you. They don't give a damn. You've seen how they work. They do everything laissez-faire. So it's all feng shui.
I guess we'll have to just finish the job ourselves because waiting half an hour just for one tire to be pumped, I mean, that's overkill. But we were interested in watching. It's like this industrial zone is both a workplace and a place where these people live their lives. This is the real Chinese trash. People live here. Rusted bunk beds, bedding that looks more than a decade old, wires hanging sloppily, and a single light. There's our guy.
Hello?
On top of that, all the guy had to do was press the trigger on the pump to inflate the wheel and get his money. He truly is living a laissez-faire life, as Petya said. There he is, literally going to where his money is strewn over the ground, but just walks past it.
Now he'll come, press the button, finish pumping, and we can go. Just wait, Stas, just wait.
He's decided to have a quick smoke beforehand. I mean, after all, he needs to work up the courage here.
It's really common in China. Like, I sometimes come across Chinese people, and it's like they've got this mist in front of their eyes. They're just like in some stupor. Sometimes they might do work here and there, while other times they just stare at the wall, like their eyes are stuck to it. He isn't here, he's up in the clouds somewhere.
So the guys have gathered and they're smoking, slowly discussing that the tire needs to be pumped.
But that's not the rule. Not all Chinese are like that. You have some that are like Chinese machines. They genuinely work in a way that even I can. I've never met people who work like the Chinese. It's like there's this split. Some people get what they want, hands down, while others don't need anything from life. What's your salary like? It's decent. So it works out at like 3? Nah. Less than 3. More, 7. 7,000, not bad. And how much do you work per day for such a salary? Depends on different things. We start at 8 or 9. What time did you say? We start at 8. Ah, you start at 8. Till what time? 6 p.m.? Yeah. Till 8 every day? Yeah. A decent take-home pay, $1,000 from 8 a.m. to 6 a.m., 5 days a week.
After eating and taking a break, the worker finally inflated our tire and we headed on.
So I've been driving for 4 years now, and I've never once been fined or stopped by the traffic cops, ever. For them to just like, just stop me and check my papers, they just don't have that,
Now, is it true that there's also a system here? What are they called? Like social credits. And everyone says there's a social rating table. And if you've, done something bad, well, then your social rating falls, like in a game.
Yeah, that's all rubbish. It's just circulated in social media. People rode the hype wave about it. They just get a rush because it's a good topic to bring hype into a conversation, It simply doesn't exist here. Any Chinese person who'll be outside all the hype because China has its own internet, if you ask them what credits are, they won't have a clue what you mean. There's no such thing. And nobody will follow you. There are too many people here, and everyone's too preoccupied to be following someone.
We're heading to one of the most beautiful places in China. They're known as the Avatar Mountains, cliffs shrouded in clouds as though they're soaring in the air. This spot is both beautiful and eerie in its own way. Come on, give me your hand.
No.
No, come on, man. Yeah, come on, you can do it. I'll tell you all about that in the next episode on China. We'll be embarking on a culinary journey into the sticks and taking a look at old school China, its trains. Guys, how on earth can you get anywhere in these cramped spaces? And what they eat on them.
Now that's good. Now that's really good. That fried stuff is good too.
And where the spiciest Chinese dishes are.
Sorry, you were brought this by mistake. It's written here. Foreigners shouldn't eat this. This food can be really dangerous for you, but he wants to try it. Yes? Do you really want to eat it? Do you realize what it'll do to you? Don't worry, he eats everything.
She won't let me. She's telling me to read that I shouldn't eat it. And the dishes that you just want to gobble down without stopping. Oh, the chef, come here.
I used to spend time on my time pay. The way speaker thumping and vibrate. She jumping my bones make it gyrate.
So guys, what are your thoughts on provincial China? Would you give your kids away to be brought up at the Shaolin Monastery? Would you stay living in the slums expecting millions of dollars? Do you prefer the high rises of megacities or the old ways? I'm always happy to read and respond to your comments. Subscribe to the channel and we'll be off again. Long trips in a car are awesome.
And another thing I like, if you want to do something, if you like a place, you drive and drive, you like a place, you stop over there, and wake up in the morning with a feeling like it's New Year, like it's a holiday. You get up in this gorgeous place, this amazing spot, you drink a coffee. It's a kind of euphoria, in fact. It's great. You feel this kind of freedom in it all. It's cool.
Absolutely.